Hello, so disclaimer as usual, please just enjoy these videos, take what you want from them, but they are intended for sort of information and educational purposes, not to turn you into little podiatrists. So this lady has come to me with a big toe that is pinging up, as you can see, so it's sitting quite high and she's finding it's causing problems with in her footwear. So what I'm making her is like a little silicone device. So it's like a putty that you add a catalyst to, which is the red stuff. So as I mix it in like that, I am distributing it through. And what will happen is, depending on how much catalyst you put in, it will start to harden or firm up. So the amount of catalyst you put in will determine how fast that happens. So I want it to stay pliable for a reasonable amount of time, but I don't want it staying soft for too long. So it's just playing around with your mixes. So now I've mixed it all in. I'm going to pop it in between the toes there. Now I don't want it too thick in between the toes because I'm not really wanting to do much in between. You can use them, you see, for corns, etc. But that's not my intention here. What I'm doing is putting the bulk on the top there, quick bulk on the top so that it holds that toe down. Now I'm doing the nails. So I've left that silicone device to firm up for a bit anyway. So I've removed it, let it firm up further. Now I'll put my gloves on because trying to do silicone without with your gloves on is really difficult. It just slides all over the place. So I tend to do that gloveless. But now I'm fiddling with toes and all sorts of bits and pieces. My gloves go straight back on. Of course, I have washed my hands before and after every treatment. But even still, the gloves protect me as much as the patient from me. So I've trimmed over the nails, which are reasonably, with this lady, they're pretty well maintained anyway. So it's just a bit of a tidy up, getting a little bit out there that I can't get, and then we give them a good file over once I've finished faffing. So these are Diamond Deb files, so they have industrial diamonds on them, so they last an awfully long time. We get a lot of use out of them, but they also do a really good job, so they're an excellent piece of kit. And the cool thing with those is that you can also use them on areas of hard skin, so any rough areas you can use on your heels, etc., to take any rough areas off, as well as nails. This lady's got what we call pinch callus or pincer callus, where the little toe has been squeezed against the one next to it, and that causes a hard ridge of hard skin under that little toe. So that's quite a common feature. So I'm just using a scalpel blade there just to remove that hard ridge. And I move on to underneath. So this lady's got a few other areas of hard skin, and so I'm using a 15 blade here. Again, some of my colleagues would be like, stick a bigger blade on. I just love my 15s, so I'm very open about that. But yeah, I suppose it can take a little bit longer, but I like to get the job done nicely to my way. So yeah, I tend to use the smaller blades. Blades, if you don't already know, they come in all shapes and sizes depending on what kind of job you want to use them for. So this one's a 15, and I find it very handy for smaller areas of hard skin, areas where the hard skin isn't kind of uniform across the foot. So you've got kind of undulations of hard skin and then good skin. So if you've got a very long or broad flat blade, it's quite hard to manoeuvre around the good bits without nicking. We do cause nicks, not infrequently, and unfortunately that's the nature. When you're using sharp and pointy things, you can cause nicks, but the removal of the hard skin here is very painless. It's just like getting your hair cut, really. It's dead, there's no blood vessels or anything to the hard skin, so it is quite a painless procedure, and most people quite enjoy it. The hard skin comes purely through kind of pressure and friction. And so depending on how your feet work biomechanically, so how they function during walking and motion, different areas receive different amounts of pressure. So sometimes when there are issues with the way that they're functioning, so if they differ from how they are specifically designed, that can cause increases of pressure or movement over certain points, and then you end up developing hard skin or callus. Now, as we know, this lady has a problem with her big toe joint there, which is why she's got it poking up. So the movement on the toe won't be as nature originally intended, and so that means you get overloading of certain areas because of that. She's also got a few little ridges and a few little seed corns kicking around. Seed corns differ from your standard, what we call hard corns. You have 3 types of corn. You have seed corns, you have hard corns, and you have interdigital corns or soft corns. And like I say, soft corns are essentially the same as hard corns, but they tend to form in areas that don't see a lot of fresh air, so they can become very soggy. So in between your toes is generally the place where you find a soft corn, or if you want to get technical, an hello mamole. So you'll see me use my thumb a lot. I use my thumb, that's my little kind of search and find tool, to feel if, because I'm rather finicky, I like to make sure that I haven't left any ridges or any lumps, any bits that I don't think really feel should be there. Sometimes things like seed corns, especially on a dry foot, and they do mainly come on dry feet, they can be quite hard to pick out sometimes with the naked eye. So running your thumb over or fingers over, you can feel them, and they just feel like kind of little bits that are just stuck to the skin. Sometimes you can kind of get a fingernail under them and they just ping out, and sometimes they just need cutting out, which is what I'm doing there. So you'll see me kind of just with the tip of my blade there, kind of cutting a circular little motion, and that's to get the corn of that seed the core of that seed corn out. So when I'm happy with all of that and I think I've got everything there, I'm going to sand that heel down, just take any roughness off. This lady doesn't have a lot of callus on her heels, so it's mainly just sort of dry roughness. So I'm just going to, again, rub that off with my Diamond Deb file. It's a good all-rounder. Now we've moved on to the other foot. So again, this lady's got a nice chunk of hard skin on that joint there. Now this is commonly known as like the bunion joint, if you like. We call it the first MPJ, which stands for the first metatarsophalangeal joint. We number the toes. We start with the big toes being numbered as number 1, and then working our way outwards 2, 3, 4, 5. So obviously when we're writing up notes, that helps us to identify what we found on the day or what we've done on the day. So with the bunions, for various different reasons, bunions are kind of enlargements of that joint, and what it can cause is like an arthritis around and throughout the joints, which then can cause what we call a deviation of the toe. So the toe starts to move away from that midline of the body, and so it's abducting, it's moving away, and that toe in severe cases kind of keeps going, and then the other toes then start to move out of the way and often overlap that big one. So like I say, bunions do come in various shapes and sizes. Footwear, without a doubt, does play a role, but genes really are the overriding factor. So if you have family members, mums, dads, aunts, uncles who have really bad bunions, then it's often, there's a good chance that you too may get given this wonderful gift. From a podiatric viewpoint, not all bunions need any sense of treatment. Any hard areas we can trim off, just like with this lady. But for actual sort of getting rid of them, generally advise, if you are in a lot of pain and you think you can't carry on with this, then surgery is an option. But if you're not in any pain, good footwear that accommodates your foot rather than your foot accommodating your footwear is the best way to go, because surgery can be very varied in its results and can be quite painful, and for some they actually end up in a worse situation than they were to begin with. So it is some decision that really shouldn't be taken lightly. It's something you really need to consider. Again, a few little seed corns, little ridges. I am very finicky, I'm afraid. I like everything to be just right. And again, we've got that bit of pinch callus underneath that fifth toe there, which I'm just going to take off. And when I've done that, we'll do the nails again on this foot. I tend to work in a kind of a round fashion, as in I start with the left foot and then I work my way down that foot and then to the bottom of the right foot and then back up. It also means that we have couches that the patient sits on, which are generally either hydraulic or electric, and it means I'm not putting the chair up down all the time, so I can kind of put the patient up then down, and that's about it. So it saves a lot of time and faff from my perspective. We have a tray, as you can see, underneath, and that catches all the bits, so it's called a debris tray for that reason. It just saves me getting lots of bits on the floor, because the little bits inside the casters on your chair, they don't get along, and you'll find you'll be rolling on nicely on your chair and then you come to a very quick halt. So catching all the bits not only saves a lot of mess when it comes to sweeping up, it saves me flying off my chair at speed. So again, I'm just tidying up any rough areas. I've cleaned any bits of dead skin out the sides of the nail. And again, now that couch is that little bit lower, I can see and access other parts that weren't as easy to access when the chair was higher. And again, a good file over with me Diamond Deb. And so this is the device that's being popped on the side to solidify. And also, as you can see, it's in one big chunk now. And when it's on, it's holding that toe down, so it's not peeking up and pressing on the footwear. I put a little arrow on it to make sure everyone knows how to put it back on. So I hope you found that interesting, and thank you very much. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos.